Wow, it's been a while. It feels like it's been a long time. Today I'm going to be filming my wrap up for July and August. I haven't done a wrap up for a while. What do you guys prefer? Because I'm thinking of doing it every other month, so every 2 months instead of doing it at the end of every month. But if you prefer my monthly wrap ups, then let me know and I can carry on doing that. But I think sometimes when I get a bit busy or whatever, it's actually easier to do it all in one. But yeah, let me know. Let's get started. Let's start with July. These are in no particular order, by the way. I've just randomly chose them out. Some of these you may recognize from my other vlog when I read, I think because I started that at the start of July. I think it was from the video, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one where you read until you find a 5-star. I've done that one, so I'll link it down below. But yeah, so a lot of these, if you've already read that, you would have seen my reactions as they came, if that makes sense. I'll review it quickly on here. I'm not going to go into like loads of detail like I did in that one. So this was the one that surprised, well, I wouldn't say it surprised me, but I really loved this book. I just loved it, and I haven't even told you what it is. It's Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. So this is about a woman who, she's died and she leaves her will, estate, whatever you want to call it, to her 2 children. But they're estranged from each other, so it's a brother and a sister, and they don't get on. As they're kind of unraveling this, she's left like audio clips for them, so like she tells them about her life and like how she came to be where she is now, like all the stuff that she's gone through, and the brother and sister have to kind of work together to kind of like unravel these kind of secrets, these family secrets. And let me just say, the fucking drama was insane in this. Like, it was just, oh my goodness, like I loved it. I love the drama. I just love the drama, Mick. I love it. And it was so good for that, and just in itself. I almost like, I know on my channel, I always say like, oh, I do spoil, like I don't do no spoilers. So I find that hard to like explain, but I feel like with this I really can't spoil it because you just won't like it otherwise, if you know what I mean. It's like, yeah, I really don't want to spoil it for you, but yeah, there's a lot of family secrets, that's all I'm gonna say. There's a lot of themes of like female friendship as well, which I really liked. It's just a very kind of complicated book, but it's very, on a personal level, I found it very relatable in parts, and I think that's why it sort of spoke to me in a way. The woman's story, and I can't remember her name, was so kind of like, she's really lived a life, do you know what I mean? Like, she's kind of been here, there and everywhere. And there was a bit where she came to the UK for a little bit to work, and I found that really interesting as being from the UK myself. And it's just, yeah, and there was a lot of things to do with their culture. Now I believe, and I can't remember, and apologies if I get this wrong, I think the family, well, the mum and the dad, they came from a Caribbean island, I think, like one of the islands, I think. I feel like I've got that wrong, but yeah, and the culture was so interesting, and I loved it. I love being immersed in their culture, and like, but it's also kind of like there are some quite problematic things that go on, and it's like her view on that. And it, you know, there was a lot of kind of there was this sort of arranged marriage that was going on. There was all these other stuff going on, and she tried to escape from it, and oh my goodness, it was like the drama. It was just, there was a lot. And like I said, that it was really, there were some really quite sweet and tender moments, but it wasn't overdone. I loved how the pacing was. The pacing, it never dragged, it never felt dull. It was just like it was one of those books that just makes you, it really makes you feel for these characters. Like, you feel like you know these characters, like you feel like you've gone on this journey with them. That's how I felt, and I know an author does it well when they do this. Now, I did talk about this in my other video, but I did find out that there was a TV series of this, but I think they cancelled it after the first series. I haven't watched it, but I am tempted, if it ever comes available, or if they ever reopen it, I don't know, what would, like, if they ever decide to rerun it, I guess, I would be interested in reading it, but I'm not necessarily going to go out my way to watch it. Also, the descriptions of like the island that they were on, where she originally came from, loved that. I just loved it, guys. It was so good. It was so real as well. Like I said, you really felt like you knew these characters. You felt like you were with them on this journey. I'm really trying hard to find any kind of small criticism, and this is why I had to give it a 5-star, because for me it had little to no flaws. I was really struggling to find something even constructive to say. This is just me. This isn't even anything on the book. This is just me and my ignorance, and I'll be absolutely honest here. Like, There were things obviously I didn't understand because I'm not from, you know, that culture, so it was hard for me to kind of understand. However, again, that's not even a criticism, that's just me, that's just something, because I'm literally scraping here. But that's a purely me thing, and I totally get that. But yeah, but in a way that kind of offset it, because I was interested and I was like, oh, like I didn't know this, you know, this happened, and I didn't know this was a thing, and blah, blah, blah. So opened my eyes, it educated me, it did everything I needed it to do. It was just beautiful, I loved it. It did get me a little bit teary, and again, so it got some emotions out of me. Brilliant. Now, I have looked at this author's other work. I don't know, Charmaine, if I'm gonna read any of your books, only because I feel like this has done it for me, and I feel like if I go with anyone else, if I go with another book rather, like she's wrote, I feel like it might spoil it for me, because I don't think the other ones have been rated as highly as this one. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't think it's been rated as highly as this one, so there is that. I don't know, you guys tell me if you've read any other books from this author, then let me know. When I've read kind of like the synopsis for other books, I've got to be honest, it doesn't really, it's not really given anything to me, and I'm wondering now how I came to find this book. It must have been a recommendation from a booktuber or somebody I really trust with their reviews. It must have been, because I don't know how else. Because it's not something that would normally appeal to me, but actually saying that the family stuff, the relatable stuff that's personal and relatable to me, I kind of get, so maybe that's why I jumped on board. If you're someone that's gone through quite a lot of family drama, and I know most people have, let's be honest here, but if you know what I mean, like quite a lot, then you may be like me, able to relate to it, and kind of it resonates more with you. So overall, a 5 baby. Okay, so my next one, if you've seen that vlog, you'll know how much I despised this, okay? I despised it, and I had it on my Kindle, and let's just say, if I had the physical book, I would have burnt it, and that's not being dramatic. It was one of the worst books I'd probably read this year. It might even be the worst book of the year, I'm not sure yet, but anyway, it was Entangled by Harley Beck. Now, little disclaimer, and again, I'm not going to go into massive detail about this, because I did do this reaction as I was reading the book. There's a lot to say. I was like, yeah, I have so much to say about this. So this is actually a novella. Now, I don't normally do novellas or short stories. It's just not something I really like, to be honest. If I read a book, I want to read a book, if you know what I mean. There's nothing wrong if you're a person that loves novellas and short stories, great, that's good for you, but I just find generally they don't tend to work for me. However, I bought this on my Kindle. It was only like £2 something. I think it was even cheaper than that. Didn't realise that it was a novella, because I have read from this author before and I quite liked her work. This is a pile of shit. So this is a erotica. I don't know if you can call it that, but I guess technically it is. It's like one of those smutty type books, which are dark romance, but I wouldn't even say it's dark romance. So this is about, I can't remember the female character's name for the life of me, but she's 17 when the novel starts. And her best friend, who lives across the road from her, goes missing. So her best friend lives with her dad, and that's it. So this is best friend's dad romance, if you can call it romance. This was so problematic that honestly, weirdly, the first couple of pages were actually quite good. Everything was quite good until the romance started happening. It was okay, I should say, but when the romance, I say romance, air quotes, massive air quotes, but it wasn't a fucking romance, it was him grooming her. I honestly just don't know where to start with this. Like, how can a book so short be so shit? Like, it was just awful. And I said it in my review and I'll say it again. When you deal with a subject like that involves minors, that involves trauma, grief, and quite a lot of sensitive subjects, you've got to handle it somewhat sensitively. And I get what the genre is about. I get it's meant to be a bit sexy and a bit kind of forbidden. I get that. But you've got to like build up to that. You've got to show the consequences of that. There was none of that. It was just pure like, yeah, like, let's get together, let's fuck. Like, literally, it was like, the fucking dad. So I'm not exaggerating, by the way, this is completely true. Read it yourself, or don't read it actually, because yeah, don't read it. Don't give this book attention. But there was a scene, they just went to a candlelit vigil for her missing friend, and after she went round to his house, and he was straight up like, yeah, do you want to fuck? What? You didn't say your daughter's missing. Like, what do you mean, do you want to fuck? Like, what? I mean, it wasn't quite, like that, but it more or less was, if you know what I mean. And I was like, yeah. Then the ending of this book, I literally finished out, I went, fuck off. I went, fuck off. I gave this 0 stars, but on Goodreads you can't, so it's 1 star, in case you haven't already guessed. There was a scene in there where It was so random, by the way, as well. Like he was driving, they were in the car, and I think by this point she had turned 18. And that was another thing, they kept making this thing of like, oh, she's gonna be 18 soon, so it's fine. No, she's still a minor. Like, and even if she had just turned 18, it's still wrong. Like, he's a lot older than her. She's literally his daughter's age. Like, no. Like, no, no. So they go to this place, and he's, you know, they're having intimacies, let's just say, and a guy, oh, by the way, complete random guy, just pulls up, and he's like, oh, I like what you're doing there, can I watch? She's like, yeah, sure. And he's like, yeah, sure, love that. Now, he didn't do anything, he was an observer, he was a voyager, what do you call it, voyagist? I don't know what you call it, but yeah. And he literally, you know, had his tug, was like, I'm going now, thanks for that, thanks, great, bye. And they were like, oh, that was so hot. Like, okay, I'm not shaming anyone that does that kind of thing, like, whatever you're into, you do you. For someone who's like not that, you know, sexually experienced, you'll go straight out there. And this was like the third time they like were intimate as well, by the way. It was so unbelievable. The way it happened as well was so unbelievable. I just feel like that, straight up, that just would never happen. Like, it would never happen. And I get it, like, these type of books are a fantasy, they're just make-believe. I totally get that. But it was just too unbelievable. Like, it was so out there that it was like, you're actually taking the piss. Like, you were full on, at this point, full on taking the piss, Harley Beck. Hated it. Don't know if you could tell. I fucking hated it. Then I have The End of Men by Christina Sweeney Baird. And again, talked about this one in my vlog. This was good. I did quite like this, more than I thought I would. So this is about I think it's technically a science fiction book, I suppose. So this is about a virus that goes around that kills men, the male gender, boys as well, just anyone who is a male. So that may to some of us sound, what's the problem with that, right? No, I'm kidding. I wasn't sure about this. I don't know what made me pick up. I think I was just intrigued by that, to be honest. Like, all men dying, that must be great, right? But in all seriousness, this book did actually open me up to things I'd never thought about before. It was really like eye-opening, actually, and it was giving me questions that I would never think about, in all fairness. Like, yeah, like, this would be a problem if all men died, or this would be a thing, or, you know, it really did open up my eyes, and I do, you know, congratulate, I guess, I praise the book for that. And it did get me thinking. It did feel like the pacing was a bit jumpy at times. Like, it started off quite slow, and then all of a sudden towards the end it would like rush through. At the end as well, the author's note says that she wrote this when COVID happened, or I think it was either during or after, and she got inspired by that. And I do see that a lot in her writing. Now, I am someone that doesn't like to read or watch anything to do with COVID. That is a little bit of a trigger for me. And I didn't know, and I said this again in my review, so I don't want to bore you too much, but I didn't know that this was like kind of COVID-y themed. I know it wasn't COVID, but it was talking about a pandemic, and I don't like hearing anything about that because it's just a bit too raw, and, you know, I lived through it, I don't need to know about it again. So I thought it was more about kind of like the survival of it and like them living in the wild or something, and it wasn't like that at all. There were women that were pregnant, and when they found out they had a boy, they were like, oh shit, because when they were born they nearly always die, and very rarely they survived. So that was a thing, and it was almost like, oh, I'm pregnant and it's a girl, oh great. But it's kind of like a weird catch-22 situation, because it's like, oh, but we need men, not girls. And yeah, it was a whole thing, and it was interesting. And yeah, like I said, the end was a bit predictable, a bit anticlimactic, but it got me thinking. It was one of those books, and I think if you like books like that, if you like pandemic-y things and how people handle that, then this is the book for you. But if you're like me, maybe not. And this was a 3 stars, so just very average, very middle of the road for me. The next one is The Girl in 6E by A.R. Torr. This is about a woman who, so she does sex work for a living, but she does it all online. So I think this book was published in the 2010s era. I believe it was either 2014 or 2015. So around that time, camming was really a thing, and it's essentially what OnlyFans is today. And I think camming still exists, but it's mainly like OnlyFans has taken over, kind of. It's more of a more popular thing. I don't think it's less of a thing. I don't know, I'm not really in that industry or anything about that. She is a recluse, so she lives in this apartment. She never comes out. She's I think she's like agoraphobic or something, but she never ever leaves her apartment. But she has these kind of warped desires, like she wants to kill. There's a lot of that going on. She's a little bit
yeah, a little bit, she's got a little problems, you know?
And she gets quite close to her delivery driver. No, wait, her driver, her parcel man, delivery man, I got there in the end. She starts to develop this relationship of sorts with this delivery, no, I've said it again, the driver, the delivery guy. Why can I not fathom that today? Yeah, she gets in this relationship of sorts with this guy, and it goes from there. That's all I'm going to say. Now, there is a bit where she leaves her apartment to save this girl. It's kind of a long story, but she's a bit of an anti-vigilante. I'm really sorry, I'm really struggling with sentences today. I was up at like 5 a.m. today, so just bear it in mind.
It's called being tired.
I'm actually crazy today. Sometimes these videos are the best though, is when I'm completely unhinged. So when she eventually leaves her apartment to go save this girl, that's all I'm going to say, it's really anticlimactic actually, because this is someone who hasn't left their apartment in like, I think it was 4 or 5 years. I don't know, there was a long time basically. It was a good couple of years. And the author is very like wanting you to not forget that. Like, it is mentioned nearly in every page. Like, the character keeps going,
yes, I've never left. Oh, I've never left.
And then when she finally does, she's kind of quite low-key chill about it. And I'm like, really? Like, this is the first time you've gone out, and it was to kind of save this girl, but this is what I mean. Like, I'm like, is this really representing agoraphobia realistically? I don't think so. I mean, I've never had it. You guys tell me if I'm completely out of character by saying this, but I don't think it's a very good representation of it. But bearing in mind, she's never medically diagnosed with this condition. I think in today's eyes, we would, like, in 2020's kind of, where are we now? 2025, I forgot what year we're in. 2025 vision, obviously this is more recognised. Maybe back then not so much. I don't know, guys. You tell me. I'm obviously very ignorant today. But I don't know. It just wasn't very good representation. I did find the character a little bit annoying as well, the FMC. She was a bit, I don't know, I just couldn't really connect with her, and like, something that the book also kind of failed me on a little bit. And this is more of a me thing. This is why I have a little bit of a problem with technology being used in books excessively, because technology changes so fucking much. And even now, like, things she was going on about, I'm like, weird, we wouldn't do that now, like, we've switched to this, or like, this is like that. Yeah, it's fine, sometimes it makes sense, but I don't know, there's just little things like that kind of irked me a little bit, and that's just for me being a bit picky. So I gave this 3 stars. It was fine, it wasn't awful, I read a lot worse, but it just wasn't, I just found myself kind of bored. Like, she would say the same things over and over again, like, okay, we get it, you're a recluse, okay, you're a dark person with dark thoughts, okay, like, it was just telling me a lot of stuff but not really doing anything with that. It was kind of boring. I won't be carrying this on as well, because this is actually part of a series. Again, I didn't know this going in. This is the first book, and so yeah, I just felt I don't care enough to read. I think there's like 3 or 4 books of this, and I was like, I don't care enough about this to want to read. I will give this author another go though, with maybe another book, and then I always give them one more chance, and then that's out for me if they fail again. Okay, so this next one was a bit of a fun one. This was called Wedding Day Massacre by Aaron Beauregard, sorry, I think I said that wrong. So this is splatterpunk. Yeah, there's not really much to say about that, is there? If you know what splatterpunk is, you know what it is. This is my first ever splatterpunk novel though, and I gotta say, it was really good. This was quite fitting as well, because as the title suggests, it's about it's about different groups of people who go to this wedding. And I was going to a wedding. I was going to my husband's friend's wedding. He was best man. So yeah, I was kind of reading it around that time. And that was an accidental. I just chose that at random, and I was like, that's funny. Anyway, what's it about? Well, like I said, the title is kind of in the title, but it's about a kind of really rich couple, like really well-off couple who get married. And the groom is completely unhinged. He is fucking crazy, like crazy. But he puts on a really good act. It was so clever, because he's basically got as many friends and family and colleagues, all that kind of thing, in a room, in this great big, because they've had quite a lavish wedding, right? And he gets them all in this room. It's in a hotel, but it's like quite a remote hotel, like in the mountains or like something like that. I can't quite remember now. And he locks them all in, and he gets this like clown figure to like help him do this. And they basically massacre the wedding guests. Yes, even his own family, even his wife, like, because the wife, she's not very nice. She's been cheating on him, but he's been acting ignorant about it for a very long time. And when it becomes a wedding day and he does a speech, that's when it all happens. That's when they basically, yeah, and they all get tortured. And obviously I'm not going to go into detail because it's a bit gory, and obviously that can be a trigger for some people. So yeah, that's all you need to know, is he then goes through torturing all the people basically that attend this wedding day, and they see the real side of him, so to say. And oh my goodness, like, it was obviously disgusting in parts, but I'm not gonna lie, I had fun with it, as in, like, it was entertaining. Like, it was, I don't know, like, obviously what you have to remember, this is purely fiction, it's not real in any sense of the word, but it feels wrong to say that. Like, I'm realising, like, me going, it's so fun, but it was, like, entertaining, I can't deny that, and, like, I did have fun with it. I don't know what that says about me. I'm realising now, like, oh my god, am I a bad person? Obviously, real life, this is not good. This is no, don't do this. Obviously, like, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this. Like, people know this. The things, though, the descriptions of the torture, like, yeah, it was disgusting. Like, it was, I don't know how this guy even come up with some of the stuff. Like, this author, I don't know how he came up with it. Now, this author is known to be very controversial. I don't know if I'm going to read that book. You know the book, I think it's called Playground or something. I don't know, I've heard so many bad stuff about it, and apparently it really is, like, the worst book ever, as in, like, it's really insanely disgusting. And I think this one wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. The craziness of the male character, it made sense. It wasn't just like, oh, he's just being crazy because, hey, he's crazy. Like, I get it. Like, look, I don't agree with it, I want to make that very clear, but I get kind of, like, I get what the author was trying to do. Like, funnily enough, it kind of ended on, like, oh my god, I want to know more, because this is a bit of a spoiler, but he gets away with it. I know that seems a bit unbelievable, but it is kind of explained more in the book, obviously, and he kind of is, there's almost like, is there going to be a sequel, because he kind of goes undercover. I don't know, it's interesting. You gotta read it. And what I loved about this book as well is it had really nice illustrations in it, and I really appreciate it. Obviously some of them were a bit gross, if you know what I mean, but yeah, I really liked this. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't perfect, there were little things I was a bit like, ooh. It's one of those books where you feel like, okay, I have to be in this kind of, mentally I have to be in the kind of mindset for that. And I know it's like, how could you ever be in a mindset for that? You can't. But for example, if I had a really shit day, or I've been feeling really down, I'm not going to really want to read a book about that. Actually, now I'm thinking about, like, is it a 5 star? Is it? Maybe it is, but I give it 4 star. It's more of like a high 4 star. There's a thing where, like, so the wife was, or rather the fiance, I suppose, the bride, she was kind of depicted as, I don't like to say this, but like a slut. Because she slept around a lot. She slept around with a lot of her, like, exes, and, like, there was these, like, popular guys there or something from, I think it was from her college or something, I don't really know, and she'd slept with them and they were at the wedding. And yeah, she wasn't, like, particularly a very nice person either. Like, she was a bit vain and all the rest of it. But I feel like the way the author described that was almost like she deserved to have all this stuff done to her, and I'm like, no one deserves that. Like, that was disgustingly, like, it was just actually downright cruel and insane what you put those people through, and nobody deserves that. So actually, no, that was my only problem, really. It come across a bit misogynistic in times, and again, I haven't read their other books, and maybe there are different, I don't know, guys, I don't know, but especially from a male author, I'm just a bit more like, you know, there was something that didn't quite sit right with me about that. But again, I don't know, like, maybe the other books aren't like that at all. Yeah, I don't know, there was some sort of weird imply. Maybe I'm reading into it too much, I don't know, but as a woman there was something that was a bit like, like, I get it, she sleeps around, not a very nice person, but like I said, it was almost implied that, like, oh well, it's fine because, you know, she's a massive whore, and it's like, Then I read the whole of the Sweet Pea series by C.J. Skews. Now, whew, boy, do I have a lot to say about this. So I enjoyed this, first of all, I want to make that clear. However, so the first book I gave 5 stars to. The second book, which I believe is called In Bloom, I gave 4 stars, and then the rest I gave all 3 stars. So there's 5 books in total. And I loved the first book. And I know nearly everyone I've ever seen reviews of loves the first book. What is it about? Wow, let me tell you. So we have a female character called Rhiannon Lewis. Now, Rhiannon Lewis, she's kind of like a baddie, but like a real baddie, if you know what I mean. She is quite a fairly meek person, but not really. Like, if looks could be deceiving type thing, you know. She's quite low-key. She has, I believe when the novel starts, she has a job at like, oh my god, what do you call it? A newspaper company, I suppose. But she's not a journalist, she's kind of like the admin. But I think eventually she does get into being a journalist or something, but anyway. And she's kind of very overlooked in her life. Like, you know, people just tend to overlook her, they underestimate her. But she is very clever as our Rhiannon Lewis. She's very clever, she's very switched on, more than people realise. And she's a female serial killer. But she tends to get away with it because she uses that to her advantage. You know, she's aware that she's a woman, she's white, she's shy, she's meek, she's pleasant, she can get away with it. This had so much dark humour, it was insane, but I loved every minute of it. And I even started to love the character of Rhiannon. Rhiannon is completely fucked up, by the way, like she's insane, but I kind of liked her. And she mainly targets like sexual predators, paedophiles, that kind of thing. That's predominantly what she targets. And they get into that a lot later in the books. But yeah, it was so funny, it was so dark, and I think it was quite refreshing to just have a female serial killer and also have them be quite like honest and just like going against, like, not just being sexy and seductive and like, but actually just like, yeah, I fucking hate you and you're gonna die now. Like literally that's how it was. And you know, there was kind of hints of why she was like she was, and that was kind of explained, and that was kind of my problem with it though. In the book she had a brain injury when she was quite young, when she was a child, and the doctors kind of explained that she might be a bit impulsive, and that is actually a thing that can happen in real life, by the way. Like they find this a lot with serial killers, is that they usually had a brain injury when they were quite young, and that can like affect them later because it can make you quite impulsive and rash and emotional, more than, you know, average, and you can tend to lash out and be angry and things like that. And this was kind of like almost given as an explanation for her behaviour in a way, and I'm like, okay. The problem I had with the sequels is the second book was interesting because she becomes pregnant. I don't really want to say too much other than that. And that was interesting, her navigating that. But yeah, she essentially escapes out of the country and then it goes from there. And I just didn't really care about her living in, like, I think it was Mexico at one point. Just didn't care. It kind of got a bit boring and she wanted to settle down, and I just thought, oh, we're going here, okay, fine. And it just started slowing right down, and there's nothing wrong with that, but like, I don't know, it just got really boring and she had to go into hiding a lot, so it was a bit like, well, what we do with this character. The third one wasn't as bad, but definitely the last two were definitely not that great. Like I said, I ended up giving them a 3-star after that, but they were still fine. Like, you know, I've read a lot worse, but it just wasn't great. It kind of did end there, but I don't know if the author plans to do any more books, but even if she does, I wouldn't be interested, I don't think. I don't know, I'd have to wait for everyone else to say their part on it, but yeah, I think I'm done with Rhiannon Lewis for now. I would say definitely read the first book. Now, I did actually start to watch the TV series because there was a TV series made, and I gotta be honest, I watched the first episode and I think we watched halfway through the second episode and I didn't really like it, and I don't know why, because the actress was really good, the one who played Rhiannon Lewis, I can't remember her name, but she's kind of famous now. Is it Ella Purnell or something like that? She was quite good, but I think the problem was, and I said this with my husband because he watched it as well and he's never read the books, but he wants to read the books. But I think if I'd have gone in first with the TV series, I might have liked it more, but I just felt like they changed way too much. And yeah, I just wasn't a fan. But also I think it's, with those type of books, I think it was, you know, it's done from first person, and I think Rhiannon Lewis, like, it is so fun to be inside her mind and share and have her share her thoughts like with the reader. It's just, yeah, it was so funny and it was just so raw, and it was, honestly, it will make you chuckle. Like, it was just full of dark humour. It was full of just like fuck yous to the world. I did feel myself, especially in the second book, actually being a bit, oh, like, she's gonna get caught. You kind of wanted to, but at the same time you're like, well, if she gets caught, that's gonna be a bit of a boring book, you know. And it was so interesting, and the way she interacts with people is so kind of bizarre because she really does put on a front. And it also, again, there's kind of a theme there with the, like, you can tell there are some deeper themes there, and like even the character reflects on it slightly, of being a woman and what that means and how we go about presenting ourselves and how we can sometimes use that to our advantage and how sometimes that can be a massive disadvantage. There is actually a lot of talk about that. That was my other 5-star read. I did quite well in the month of July. So then we get into August. Now, this was quite interesting because again, this is in no particular order because I can't remember what order I read these in, but I will start off because I've just talked about Sweet Pea. I read a book by Victoria Helen Stone called Jane Doe. Now you've probably heard of this because I think it got quite famous in the book community at one point, and it's very similar to the Sweet Pea series. This is set in America, so this is almost like the American version of Sweet Pea, because the character is the same. She's quite snarky, she's quite sarcastic, she presents quite meek, she works in like an office where people underestimate her, overlook her, she plays it well, yeah, there was a lot of that. Now, this is also a two-part book, duology, I guess. I don't know what you call that. A two-parter? A two-parter. So I did also read the second one. I wasn't going to, but I'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, what was the first book about? So this is about a woman who is avenging her best friend's abuser. And she plans to get with him, as in enter a romantic relationship with her. And let's just say it goes from there. I had so much fucking fun with this. She was completely unhinged. She fucking hated him, and I don't blame her. He's a twat. Like, he's like one of those guys. He's one of those guys, I don't know why I'm whispering, that like, you know, like those guys that are like super conservative, but they try to be like cool in front of you, but you know, like the minute you kiss them or you like do something with them, they'll just drop you because now you're a slut. That's literally what he is, and he more or less admits that in the book. And he's vile. He's just disgusting. He's literally he's kind of almost a stereotype of it, but he is like the misogynistic guy. The sequel to this was called Problem Child, and this I was kind of umming and ahhing, like, oh, do I want to carry this on? Because I gave Jane Doe 5 stars. I really loved that one, and people didn't seem to like this one as much. I was like, am I really going to waste my time? But luckily these books are quite quick to get through. I think they're just shy of about 300 pages roughly. I could be wrong, but they're not very long. So I was like, you know, debating it, and then I thought, okay, let's just do it. I've got to see what happens. So basically this second one is about gets in contact with her niece who has gone missing, and she tries to locate her, and then when she does, they kind of form this sort of relationship, and she tries to she's not actually saving her or helping her, because her niece, I think, is 16 or 17, and she has what we would say a chaotic lifestyle. Let's just say that, you know, she comes from quite a poor background, and, you know, yeah, she has a lot of struggles, let's just say that. And Jane kind of takes her in, kind of, and like, I guess tries to, like, she's not actually trying to save her. She's like, she sees it as like, this is so interesting, this is so exciting for me, and she sees it more like that. And it's like, I don't know, it was very odd. It was okay, but it wasn't as good, and I think I just prefer it when she fucks with men. Because this was just fine, but it wasn't like great. I think I gave it a 4 star because it was still, you know, it's still fun to have her thoughts and her views on things, because they're so different from most people, so it's quite funny to kind of see that. And I quite like characters, especially female characters, that are like that. I love an unhinged character. What can I say? I think that's what it is. I just love unhinged characters. I just think they're just crazy. So then I read Sweet Meat, I think that's what it was called, by Mark Edwards. So this is interesting. So I am quite a big fan of Mark Edwards as an author. I used to read quite a lot of him. So this was on one of his backlist for me, and I didn't realise it was a novella. So that's 2 novellas I read. But anyway, it's fine. I'd already bought it by that point, and I realised, oh, it's a novella. But I'm so freaking glad I did, because what is this about? Well, it's set in Wales, and it's about a creature who kills or comes for children who have been naughty. It's like one of those type of kind of stories. It's set in rural Wales. It's a horror. It's set in the summer, which when I was reading it as well, it was really hot. So I was like, oh, the ambience is just natural here. You know what I'm saying? The front cover is really good, by the way. I love the front cover. It's kind of got this retro feel to it. And I thought, oh, this wasn't the vibe I was getting. I didn't know it was going to be summer, but yeah, loved it. It was about it's mainly about between these 2 characters, and I think the girls are slightly older than the boy, but their friend goes missing, and everyone's like,
Oh no, where's Nicky gone?
I think that's his name. And the girl and the boy, like,
We know what's happened. We know.
So they go and try and find this creature, and they go and like camp out and try and find this creature, and it's really cute. And I loved the friendship between the boy and the girl. I can't remember their names, but I loved it. It was so cute, because it was at that kind of awkward age where they were kind of pre-teens, I think, and like especially her, because I think she was a year or 2 older than him, and you could tell it's like a coming of age kind of story almost. Especially the girl, she was entering that time where she was like starting to notice herself and starting to be like, oh, I'm a girl, and like, I suppose I need to put makeup on, and like, I don't know, there was this kind of thing, and it was like, oh my god, it was so cute. He wasn't quite at that age yet to kind of like notice her like in a kind of attraction sexual way, I suppose, but she, you know, she was getting there, and it was a lot of kind of angst, but like not really. And it was like, it wasn't teenagers, like I said, they were just on the cusp of kind of going into that kind of teenage. It was just really relatable in that sense, and like it was really cute, and their friendship was so innocent as well. Like the boy just didn't really get kind of like, she had these older brothers who were like kind of really fucking idiots, and they would make like, you know, they would make jokes to the two friends. So innocent. I just wanted to like wrap him up in cotton wool. He was so cute, the boy. Actually, what I loved about this book as well is at the end it tells you what happened to the characters as they grew up, and I wanted more. That's my only criticism of this book. I gave it 5 stars. Wanted more. Mark Edwards is an interesting author because he normally only ever does thrillers. Well, horror. I think horror is his calling, because that was honestly amazing. And the reason I almost gave it 4 stars, and that seems completely unfair, because I wanted more. I want more of this. I want more of Sweet Me. I actually honestly want to reread it again because it was just beautiful, and I loved the characters and I loved the story. The actual whole creature monster thing was kind of creepy actually, but it wasn't. I didn't really believe that this was a creature. I did kind of think it was in their imaginations a little bit, but there is kind of something with that, and like they do encounter strange things on their kind of camping trip or whatever, and yeah, I loved it. And then we had Tell Me What You Did by Carter Wilson. Now, this was just okay. This was just, yeah. Where to start with this? So this is based on a female character who does a true crime podcast. Yes, because we haven't heard of that before, have we? Yeah, I started to think, why did I choose it? I think this was actually a BookTok recommendation now from memory, trying to remember it. But yes, anyway, she has a true crime podcast, and she has a caller. So the synopsis is that callers come onto a line and they confess their crimes that they've done, right? I know, kind of a weird concept, but let's just go with it. Now, we find out that her mum was murdered when the character, who I believe is called Poe, as in Poe, the author, poet, I don't know, Poe. What was the name, Poe? My British ass thinks Poe from the fucking Teletubbies. But anyway, it's fine. It's just a name, isn't it? Like, whatever. My name's basic as fuck. It's Beth. So who am I to be like, Poe? Anyway, we're going back to Poe and her look at fucking true crime podcast, which actually, you know, I'm taking the piss, but really, like, it does actually sound kind of interesting, but unfortunately the actual plot fell a little bit short. So yeah, like I said, her mum was murdered when she was quite young. I think she was a teenager or something when she was murdered. She finds out all these secrets about her mum, and then she starts to unravel her mum's killer, and the killer comes onto the podcast, of course he does, and is one of the like confessors or whatever. Yeah, and that's kind of where it goes from there. I just didn't really care. I felt like I didn't really care about her mum's killer, and I think it was maybe something to do with the fact that we just didn't get to spend that much time with those around Poe, apart from her dad. So I did really like the relationship between her and her dad. I thought that was really sweet and really cute, and they really did look out for each other. At one point I actually genuinely thought, and I think this was quite good actually of the author, because I genuinely thought, wait, is it her dad? And honestly, I did think that for a while. I thought her dad was actually the murderer, and I think actually that would have been more interesting. I think it makes more sense, because if you read it, you'll know what I mean. But yeah, I just thought, okay, and then it just didn't really go anywhere really with the killer. I just didn't really care. It was dragged out a little bit as well, and I don't know, there was just something about this, it just didn't vibe with me. I do say as well, I did quite like the setting. So it was set around autumn time and around Halloween. So, you know, if you're looking for an autumn and or Halloween vibe, I would say pick this up, with the sort of creepy killers and obviously being set in autumn and all that stuff. It was just meh. It was 3 stars. It was just fine, but it was just nothing. It's one of those books like, can we have something more? Another average book that I read was Little Disasters by Sarah Vaughan. Now, Sarah Vaughan, let's talk about Sarah Vaughan, because she's my new favourite author of the year. I read, I think it was earlier this year, Anatomy of a Scandal, gave 5 stars, and honestly it's probably one of my favourite books of the year. But we need to talk about Little Disasters, because it was a bit of a little disaster. We have a mother who is charged, I guess, by the police. I don't know if she's actually charged, I can't remember, but she is accused then of neglecting her child. So she has 3 children. She's very middle class, very, you know, white middle class. She's a housewife. She doesn't have to work because her husband earns a lot of money. So she looks after the 3 kids, right? So she's got 2 boys, and this was the girl. and her sort of friend is a A&E doctor, and so this is how it kind of is triggered, because she has to have the baby go to A&E because she got dropped, I think, or she bashed her head or something. It was quite a serious thing. And yeah, she kind of gets investigated and is shown to have neglected the kid. What do I feel about the book? I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit bored. I was bored. It was very kind of character heavy, and I like a bit of both in my books, and this was just, you just with the characters all the time in their own drama, in their own kind of thoughts and feelings constantly. It did feel quite draining. And like I said, I like this author normally, but I just don't think this was one for me. I just think, you know, there's a lot of talk there about motherhood, and what it is to be a mother, and what is a good mother, what is a bad mother, what is a good parent, even what is a bad parent, you know, the expectations of mothers rather than fathers. There was a lot of talk about that, a lot of discussions about that. And hey, you know, as someone who is child-free by choice, you know, it's just not really relatable to me. It's not something I necessarily want to read about in my book. If you are a mother or a parent even, or you've, you know, been through or know someone that's gone through this, you will definitely get something out of this. I do think that, truly. But for someone like me, I'm like, and it didn't really, I don't know, I just didn't really care, to be honest. It was one of those, I just found it a bit boring, and I hate to say that. However, I will say the mental health representation was done really, really well in this book. So there's a lot of triggers in these books. I know all the books I mentioned, by the way, always check your triggers, but this is very heavy on that, and it talks a lot about postnatal depression and difficult childbirth and things like that. It really is like, this author is giving you like slap bang in the middle, like all the nasty things that come with being a parent, and quite harrowing things. And honestly, it's just like, yeah, this is why I don't want kids. Like, this is why I don't want kids, because fucking hell, like, the ending was just kind of like, oh, okay, is that it? Like, everything's just fine now, is it? I suppose really, actually when I'm reflecting on it, the ending makes sense, and it's probably actually the more realistic outcome of this, because I was thinking, oh, she's gonna go to prison, isn't she? She's obviously gonna go to prison. But actually, it's not quite as black and white as that, because obviously when you have postnatal depression, when you know, mental health, and there's always a bit of a push and pull with mental health. Anyone that works in those services, you'll know, you know, what that's like. And so I do find that quite interesting in that sense. Like, there was obviously like a bit of a social commentary on that as well, which I did like. And like I said, the mental representation was, I thought, done really well, actually. I do think the characters were done fairly well. I will say though, the other character, I think her name was Liz, who was the A&E doctor, I found her to be a little bit weak and kind of annoying, and it was never really explained why she was like that, because, you know, she's an A&E doctor. She's used to making quite a lot of decisions in her working life, right? She has to make quite quick decisions. She has to be quite sure of herself, somewhat confident. But yeah, when it came to like, she wasn't really that confident and stuff. And then like when it came to like, I don't know, her personal life, so like her relationship with her mother, her relationship with her friends, even with her children, she just seemed really weak and like kind of like, I don't like to say the word weak, I don't know what to call it, kind of passive and like, yes ma'am, of course ma'am. And her mum was kind of a bitch to her, and she was just like,
of course ma'am, I'm so sorry ma'am, I love you ma'am.
I just found her character a little bit unbelievable. I'm not saying that people who work in those roles have got to always be these strong, you know, confident people, you know, but I don't necessarily believe that. I feel like we're not really understanding why she just lets her mum speak to her like shit, basically. Like, it's not really ever explained other than, well, that's just her character. And it's like, but why? Because most people, even if that wasn't their family member, if someone talked to you like that, you would not take that. Like, I know I fucking wouldn't, so maybe that's a me thing, I don't know. It's kind of boring. 3 stars. Like I said, if you're a mother, then I do think some things will resonate with you, but generally or a parent, I just think, no, not for me. So another average book. This was the month of average books, clearly. This was Delicate Condition by Danielle Valentine. What a fucking book this was. This was a bit of a ride, honestly. So this was a really weird book. Again, I actually did read this, I think, I remember now, straight after I read Little Disasters. So this was, again, a story about a mother, but this was an interesting one in that she really, really wanted to become a mother, and she couldn't, unfortunately, because she couldn't conceive naturally. So her and her husband were going through IVF, and it was kind of that journey of that, but also I can't quite remember now, I'm trying to remember the details, but I think a woman basically approaches her and is like, is someone she meets in a class or something, I can't quite remember now, and she's like, oh, because this woman, by the way, the female character, she's kind of like a minor celebrity. Anyway, this woman's like, oh, I know you're trying to have a baby, aren't you? And she's like, yeah. She's like, I kind of know where you can do it, but it's not kind of like, it's not really like, it's kind of, it's kind of dodgy. And then the girl's like, sure, okay, well, I'll come to you when I need you. And then eventually she's like, okay, yeah, I kind of need that dodgy thing, yeah, because I can't get pregnant and I need to have a baby. And then what happens is, it's basically witchcraft and a lot of demon babies. I have never read Rosemary's Baby, but apparently this is exactly the same, but like a modern version of that. Rosemary's Baby is on my TBR actually, but I've never read this, but a lot of people have said,
This is Rosemary's Baby. Oh my god, this is just Rosemary's Baby.
But it's like a modern version of that because it's set in present day, right? So, like I said, I can't really comment on that because I don't know nothing about that. I don't even really know what Rosemary's Baby is about, other than doesn't she give birth to like a demon child or something? I don't know. As she's pregnant, this baby inside of her is crazy. Like, it is like giving her all these hallucinations and she's seeing things and like she thinks she's going crazy. It was just kind of a very disappointing book. It was very kind of like, it was a little bit creepy in parts. Like, I will give the book that. There were moments where I was a bit like, what the fuck is that? Like, I was kind of on board with it. I was like, what's happening to you? But there were also bits where it's like, okay, this is the 5th time you fainted now. like girl, like, I think you need help. I think you need to get that baby out. At the end, like, it kind of pissed me off because kind of got crazy because it's like I said to you, it's to do with witches, and I would say, oh, read this book if you're really into like witchcraft and witches and things like that, but also no, because that doesn't happen till like right at the very end, although it's kind of hinted at, but it's only really at the end. And then, this is a bit of a spoiler by the way, but like, but her baby is reincarnated, like the soul who is her best friend that died. It's just fucking weird. And I would have believed this if, like, we had this kind of connection with her friend, but this was like just randomly at the end. It was just a bit of a mess, to be honest, especially towards the end. I felt like the author was like, oh shit, I've got to wrap this up, okay, blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, shit, I forgot to include stuff about witchcraft, okay, here we go. I felt like that's what it was like a little bit. So yeah, I just wasn't a fan. Like I said, the creepiness fine, but the character was kind of fine, but there was nothing particularly remarkable about her. I did find it, again, as someone who is child-free by choice, I did find it kind of hard that, like, I couldn't relate to that feeling of wanting to become a mother or anything like that. So, when she was talking a lot about that, and there was a lot of discussion about that, it's not something I can really relate to. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I do have empathy for people that want that. But someone had made this comment, like, if you want a kid that bad and you've tried to get it, biologically, what do you call it, naturally, so to say? I don't like saying that, but I don't know how else, conceive it through yourself. Adoption is a thing. Like, yes, it's not easy, but like, it's like she couldn't even consider that. And I don't know. I feel like there was a lot going on, but yet nothing really happened. So then this is completely different. This is completely changing now, because now we go to a non-fiction, and this is called Eve by Kat Bohannon, and I had to check my notes there because I couldn't remember how to pronounce her name. This is all about women. So this is all about how females have evolved over time, how we have kind of got how we are here today. Obviously it focuses a lot on the past, and it sort of talks about things like, why do we have boobs like we do? Why do we menstruate? Why do we, give birth live, and all this stuff. All this stuff that you've probably like had shower thoughts over, if you know what I mean. Why are we mammals? Why can't we just lay eggs? Why do we have mammals and then egg layers? And yeah, it does all that. It does it all. And I love non-fiction books like this because I'm not an academic girly. I don't know if you can tell that, but I'm not. And she explains this in a way, the author explains this as not to talk down to you, but also not to like be pretentious, like talk to you as if you know everything. Like, like she talks to you in a way that you feel like you're learning from someone, like someone who literally just sat down and tried to teach you, I don't know, the alphabet, but not quite in those simple terms. Like, it's very well written, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And I gotta tell you, I was fascinated. I was absolutely fascinated. Now, when I bought this on my Kindle, I was like, ooh, because it said like, this is going to take me 10 hours to read. So I was like, what? But what you always have to remember, and I always forget this with non-fiction books, is actually a lot of the pages at the end are just references. So anyway, that was maybe just a me thing, but I was a bit intimidated, but don't be intimidated by this because it's really easy to, and there's lots of breaks in it as well, which I really love in a non-fiction book because it's like, okay, because you know sometimes with non-fiction it can be quite overwhelming because they're giving you all these facts and figures and data and research and surveys and all this stuff, and it's like, whoa. Maybe some people love that. Like I said, if you're an academic girly, you'll love that, but for me, I'm like, I need time to process this. That's how my brain works. But yeah, no, she it was brilliant. It was fascinating, and she really researched very well. Loved. I think she is an evolutionary biologist. I might have that wrong, don't quote me, but she's something to do with that, obviously, and that's kind of what her job is. And yeah, I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was also a really thing that men should read as well. Basically, any gender, everyone should read this because it is talking about how we came to be and like why and what is the purpose and why do we menstruate? Why do we have to? Why are we the only species that do that? Well, I know we're not, because whales and dolphins and all that, and well, orcas, whales, I don't know, there are some other species that do it. But what I mean is, why are we only like, why do women live by a 28-day cycle? Why? And she's like, you know, this is why. This is why. She was like hitting me with these facts. Like, sorry, I'm really hyper and I don't know why. I think it's because I've been up since 5 a.m. This is going to be such an unhinged. I loved it. And like I said, 5-star. I want another book from you, Kat Bohannon, because that was great. You did it. 5 stars. That's it. That's every book that I read in July and August, not including my rereads, which was Twilight and yeah, no, just Twilight. What was my favourite book that I read in the month of July? I think it would probably be the first Sweet Pea book by CJ Skews. I loved that. I had so much fun with that, and yeah, brilliant. I would highly recommend you read that. At least the first one. Do it. Just read it. You won't regret it. I swear you won't. My worst book of the month of July would probably be Entangled by Harley Beck. Are we surprised? Don't ever read this. Throw it away. Don't even buy it. It is problematic as fuck, and it's just honestly not even that good anyway, so there we go. My favourite book that I read in August was Jane Doe by Victoria Helen Stone. I think that's her author's name. Loved that. Again, it's like Sweet Pea but Americanized, and well, it was set in America. She is American. If you do actually have any more recommendations for me for like unhinged or unreliable narrators and all that kind of stuff, put that in, because I've noticed, especially if they're female, because yeah, I've that's what I like. I've found my niche. I love that. Is it niche? Is it getting quite popular now? Because actually I've noticed there seem to be a lot more books like that now. And my worst book that I read in August would probably be, to be honest, I didn't actually have, I don't think, any 1 or 2 stars, but I think the one I enjoyed the least was probably Tell Me What You Did by Carter Wilson. It was actually quite disappointing. I feel like I should have liked that. That usually has everything that I like, because she was avenging her mum's murderer. She was, you know, it's true crime. It's, yeah, I feel like it gave me quite, it was like autumn vibes, all this stuff, but it was just something. I just feel like there wasn't really any kind of substance to it maybe. And that's why it fell short for me, because I was really hoping I would like that and I just didn't really love it. So, but it was just fine. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I'm sorry if I seemed a bit unhinged and crazy. Like I said, I've been up since 5 a.m. today. I hope you really enjoyed my video, and I hope, as always, that you have a really nice day. Thank you so much. Bye bye.